Well, hello and welcome to the Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 Mount Lebanon Planning Board meeting. We'll have a call to order. Our board members, Rebecca Griffith.
Here.
Dave Hornacek.
Here.
Clinton Rounsful.
Here.
John Schrott.
Here.
Andrew George, myself here. Municipal staff are from Gateway Engineers, Dan Diceroth.
Here.
Ian McMeans, our planner.
Here.
Greg Wharton, our urban planning and sustainability coordinator. And our liaisons, Jeff Siegler.
Jeff is traveling, so he's not here.
Okay, thank you. We'll have a statement on public comments then. The planning board will accept public comments from each agenda item. Please note that a repetition of comments made by previous speakers is not necessary for them to be considered. If a group of residents shares an opinion, we suggest that you select a spokesperson. Public comments is not the appropriate time for prolonged debate or for personal comments about or questions directed to fellow residents, the board members, municipal staff, or any developer. In consideration of everyone's time, we encourage residents making public comment to refrain from repeating comments made by previous speakers. For Zoom participants, if you wish to comment during public comment agenda items, use the raise hand function. During the public comment agenda item, the chair will recognize you. When recognized, please be sure to unmute your line and announce your name and address for the record. If you have multiple or complicated comments, you are welcome to submit them to us in writing. We ask you to hold your remarks to 5 minutes and we'll let you know when your time is up. We appreciate your efforts to be respectful and ask that the audience refrain from any behavior that is disruptive or might intimidate free speech. Okay, well, our first item is our meeting minutes. Do we have an approval of meeting minutes from the January 21st, 2024 meeting?
Griffith, I'll make a motion to approve the meetings of January 21st, 2024 Planning Board meeting.
I think that should be 2025.
2025 Planning Board meeting.
That was a typo on
Did we not have one last month?
We did not have one last month, so I think that, yeah, it should be 2025. Sorry.
John Schrott, second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, then we'll move on to our next agenda item, old business, which we have none. We'll move on to our next item, new business. A request for recommendation of a conditional use approval. JLAB Beauty, situated at 360 Castle Shannon Boulevard, is requesting a change of use of a 484 square foot secondary structure from vehicle sales and service to warehouse/self-storage. Warehousing self-storage is a conditional use in the C2 zoning district. No structural changes are being made to the building on the property. Are there comments from the engineer?
Yes, we have a letter dated March 12th, 2025 that we've reviewed the conditional use application. At this time, they're looking for a recommendation for the planning board for just a conditional use change. There are no improvements proposed to the site, so there's no land development going on with the application. We did comment that the application appeared complete, and we did recommend some changes to the site plan that was submitted. It should be titled a conditional use plan. The revised dates predated the submission date and should be removed from the plan, and the purpose of the conditional use should also be noted on the plan. The conditional use plan is mostly kept as sort of a record for the municipality of what was approved, along with, of course, the decision that's made. But that's really our only comments, is just to really make the plan fit the application.
Okay, is there a representative from the, do you have anything to add?
I did not. Sure, you can forward them to Greg, yeah.
Okay, any comments from the planning board? Okay. Does someone want to make an action?
John Schrott. Motion to recommend conditional use approval to the JLAB Beauty Plan for the 484 square foot structure only, conditioned upon the applicant addressing items required to be completed prior to final approval noted in the engineer's review letter dated March 12th, 2025. And any other comments from the planning board?
Rebecca Griffith, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you. All right,
On the next steps in the process, once you submit the updated stuff, then we have to hold a public hearing in front of the commission, which is our board of elected officials. So we have to advertise that condition, or the public hearing. We'll let you know when the meeting date is, when the public hearing is, and then after the public hearing, the commission will vote on the actual conditional use approval for the site. And we'll issue a decision letter. Probably somewhere around that time frame. Yeah, we'll figure it out once we get all the application materials in, but if you just send them to Greg and I, then we'll move forward from there. No, building permit has to wait on the conditional use to be approved. Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item. NVR Incorporated and Horizon Properties Group have an equitable interest in a property located at 400 Washington Road. At this time, NVR Incorporated and Horizon Properties Group would like the opportunity to present their current proposed project informally to the board and public to get comments and feedback before submitting a formal land development application for consideration. No approvals are being sought at this time. You guys want to present?
I was made a panelist, so I'm logged on.
Okay.
Can I share
You should
my
be able to share
screen?
your screen.
Yeah, that's fine. We have a consolidated presentation.
I think it'll be good to share your screen so the people watching online can see it too, and then anyone who goes back and wants to watch this on our YouTube channel can see it as well.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Sorry,
Thanks.
before you start, did you have someone from your team that's online too?
I'm just going to let you know that
If we want to
Adam Hale.
promote him to a speaker or whatever, then he can chime in too if he needs to.
What is his name?
Adam Hale.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us here this evening. As was stated, we're here just to introduce ourselves, introduce the team, what we've been working on the past 6 months or so, show you some images and some renderings. We put together a fly-through to give you an understanding of what it is we're proposing on the site. We also have the architect of record, Adam Hale, on the line if there's any questions about architecture. My name's Bill Moldovan. I am a landscape architect from Kimley Horn. Just looking here how to advance these slides, I apologize. There we go. From a project team perspective, my name is Bill Moldovan, Kimley Horn, landscape architecture, civil, traffic engineering. The developer is Horizon Properties Group. Nick Nazak is here with the developer if there's questions for him. From the builder side, it's NVR Inc. Eric Viseski is here if you have any questions for him. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, KTGY is the architect and he's online.
Is it possible to send out those slides over here?
Yeah.
No one in the audience can see.
It's on the other TV.
Sandy, do you know how we? So,
Broadcast from that computer and not that computer.
Yeah.
so if you would, why don't you keep talking? We'll figure it out from here. So, yeah.
There's a folder with today's date.
I think if we just join the Zoom call from this computer, because different computers are hooked up to different TVs.
We're not showing anything, so, other than text on the screen.
You're introducing the team, we cannot see them.
Okay. So we've had meetings, do you want me to hold? Do you want me to keep going? I don't want to, I want to follow your direction.
Either way is fine. They'll have it in a minute.
Okay. Beginning in October of 2024, we started meeting with the municipal staff to present the plan. That included zoning officer, engineer, Dan was there providing feedback. We met 3 separate occasions, made adjustments to our concept plan based on recommendations from staff. We also met with the fire department in February to present the concept plan. We met with Lieutenant Joe Gavito and the fire chief. At that time, we took our current concept plan and ran the municipality's largest apparatus through the development to show circulation, get any feedback from the fire department. And some of that feedback resulted in some modifications to the plan that we'll show to the group tonight. We've also met on 2 occasions with the adjacent property owner, the Avon Court Apartments. There's an opportunity for us to work together, since we share a property boundary, to limit grading, provide more of a vegetative screen for that property owner between our site and theirs. We've shown them our original plan. They gave us feedback, and we met with them again this afternoon to present the plan that you're going to see tonight, and again get their feedback. So I just thought it was important to note we are showing grading and landscaping off of our property, and our concept plan and our discussions with the municipal staff to date. We understand that if we do that, there may be an instance where we would need to have an agreement in place prior to any approvals. Just a little bit about the site. It's at 434 Washington Road, tax parcel ID 98P100. The site's approximately 2 acres. It's actually 1.978. It's zoned R7, which is high density, high rise, multifamily, limited commercial district. Our proposed development is a mix of condo units, 48 condo units, and townhomes, proposing 4 townhomes. And this is where I do start to get into some.
Yeah, let's just wait.
Yep, absolutely. Ian, did you find the file, the folder? I'm sorry.
Sandy, the link worked for me. Do you want me to just hook my computer to that TV? Oh, their presentation's up there now. Yeah, okay. So Bill will just have to advance 2 slides at once.
He's not gonna try out this year. He made it last year. He just wants to have fun.
Okay, we're back on track, it looks like. This is an aerial view of the site. It's bounded on the north by Bower Hill Road. That's the right side of the page. On the east by Washington Road, State Route 3069. On the west by Kenmont Avenue, and that's the top of the page, and Oak Way on the south. It's currently vegetated condition, undeveloped. We also had a survey of the site conducted as part of our work in progress. That's the following page here. You can see the property boundary in dark black. Again, this is showing, the boundaries to each side. This plan view shows some existing contours. We've got elevation change.
Can we get that screen?
Slide.
Yeah. Someone's got to change, yeah, thank you.
Watch them here. There we go.
We do have an elevation change on the high side, Washington Road. On the low side, Kenmont. I take it everybody's familiar with this particular property. So it is a challenge from a grading perspective, but we believe our concept plan is made for this topography and this site. And this is the current concept plan. 2 5-story buildings along Washington Road. Those are the 2 condo buildings. It's 1 story of parking and 4 stories of condo living space. And we're going to show you a lot of information here in the form of plan view. We have some sections through the site to start to kind of depict what it is we're proposing from a grading standpoint. I anticipate that I'd like to get through all of that, and as you have questions, we can go back to some of those slides if you don't mind. So we have a buried level of parking is the first story of the 2 proposed condo units. And then 4, like I said, 4 levels of living. And that first level of living, floor 1, is going to exit and enter onto Washington Road. So on the back side of the units, on the unit of the side facing Kenmont, you'll have access to the half buried first floor or bottom floor of parking. Each unit has 24 parking spaces. The requirement for parking per the code is 2 spaces for every 2-bedroom unit, which would be 96 in between the 48 units. And we have 80 spaces on the site. However, there is plans to place 18 parallel parking spaces along Washington Road, and we've discussed with municipal staff coming in for a conditional use application for an alternative parking plan to allow us to count some of those spaces to meet our threshold for the 2 condo units. From a site access standpoint and circulation, we have our main entrance on Kenmont, and that is on the low side of the site, and that comes uphill at about 8% to the entrance to the 2 below-grade parking levels for the condo units. At that entrance, the second entrance is on Oak Way. There is a curb cut along Bower Hill Road that was requested by the fire department. Currently, there is no curb cut there. There was some discussion between us and the fire department whether or not the recent road improvements on Bower Hill Road left the curb cut that was there previously. It is not there. So that would be an emergency only entrance to allow their ladder trucks to have full access to the condo unit to the north. Along Kenmont, we're proposing 4 townhouse structures. Those 4 townhouse structures each require 2 spaces, and right now we have 2-car garages. Our intent was to have 2 cars in each driveway. However, we are challenged by a code requirement for impervious frontage along a property boundary. So as we move further with design, we'll determine whether or not we have one-car driveways or two, just depending upon whether or not we can meet that threshold. So we aren't looking for any variances from a setback perspective, from a lot coverage perspective. We would be looking at a by right development outside of the request for the conditional use for parking. And this is a cross-section. Thank you. A cross-section cut between Kenmont on the left-hand side and Washington Road at the right-hand side. And as you can see, you start low on Kenmont. You've got the townhouse block as a white block on the left-hand side. A double or two bays of heading parking and a drive aisle in between the townhomes to the left and the condo building to the right. The larger massing of white that you see on the right-hand side is the proposed condo unit. The parked cars that are facing that condo building will face into the one level of parking. And this gives a good depiction of the fact that Washington Road sits 10 feet, actually 11 feet higher than that parking in the middle of the site. And this is a cross-section of Bower Hill Road on the left-hand side and Oak Way on the right-hand side. The cross-section on the top of the page has a match line or a connection to the bottom of the page. So you can see Bower Hill Road on the left-hand side. We've shown a fire truck in that emergency only access road. The white block on the left-hand side is the northern townhouse or condo unit. And then between the two condo units, as we're kind of making our way to the right along that top cross section, that space in between will act as our location for trash built into the hillside. There'll be and that is kind of the T intersection that goes into both parking areas. And then there will be a proposed sidewalk and stairway connection between the bottom floor and Washington Road. And as we head kind of to the right, the reason that second condo building is hatched out is the fact that it's going through the center of it, our section line. But then as we go to the bottom section, heading right, you see Washington Road. The cars are along Washington Road. The adjacent businesses across the street on the opposite side of Washington Road. The cemetery in the background, and then Oak Way finishes that cross section. And then we have some rendered views of our proposed concept plan. And this starts to show a little bit better the sidewalk connections that are through the site, the buffers that are being proposed, not only between the existing residential along Kenmont, but also the Avon Court apartments along Bower Hill Road. And again, you can see the connection between Washington Road and the parking entrances and the emergency vehicle access. This is a bird's eye view looking from the intersection of Bower Hill Road and Washington Road. We are proposing, if you could see at the intersection there, to have some sort of entry feature into the corridor. So we will work with the municipality to understand what that looks like. We just want to have the ability to not only introduce our project as cars are coming along the corridor, but also, couple that with a public gathering space at that intersection. And this is the view from really the intersection of Bower Hill and Washington Road, looking south, proposed developments on the left. This is a view looking from Oak Way north on Washington Road, with the development on the left-hand side as well. And this is the entrance. You can see the entrance to Oak Way. This is probably an important place to show you that from a fire and emergency service perspective, we looked at the fire trucks coming from the fire department, and we did show that the fire trucks would be able to navigate that turn onto Oak and then into the development. This is a vantage point from Kenmont on the opposite side of the street, looking into the development. This is these are the 4 townhomes. As you can see, I mean, the scale of the townhomes, fits with the rest of the scale of the existing buildings. But this is a good vantage point to show that they do, when you get to a pedestrian scale, they block the larger townhome, or the larger condo buildings in the background. And this is a bird's eye view from the intersection of Bower Hill and Kenmont, with the townhomes in the foreground and the condo buildings in the background. You can see the ramp that comes into the Avon Court apartment top deck garage. And this is the next view I'll show you. This is the location that we discussed with that adjacent property owner, having some grading easements, allowing us to remove their vegetation and plant new in there for some screening. And then this is a view from standing on that deck, looking into the site. And this gives a good description of what that coordination was. In the background, in the corner of the parking deck, the top of the parking deck, the Avon Court parking deck, there's a small curb. Right now, in existing conditions, there's a 5-foot-high parapet wall holding up some earth behind it. So we'd be looking at stripping that parapet wall down and regrading that earth there to smooth that transition between the two properties. And this is a top view. We felt it was important to show the board what we had intended from a connection between Washington Road and the rest of the site beneath. And this shows the orientation of the dumpsters or the trash enclosures, that white truck on the bottom of the screen there coming out. That would be exiting one of the parking garages. There's another parking garage entrance on the opposite side of that hammerhead intersection. And here you can see a sidewalk connection. Right now, it's probably a good time to reiterate the fact that we have done a significant amount of engineering to be able to present something that we're confident about to you. But again, we would be working with the municipality, coming up with the appropriate solutions for a lot of the design elements that are still, requiring refinement. And this shows the parallel parking spaces along Washington Road. Right now, there are parallel parking spaces, but only one lane of traffic, we'd be looking at, opening that to 2 lanes of traffic and the parallel parking on the outside, still within the right-of-way. And then this is the last image looking from those steps coming down from Washington Road towards Kenmore. I'm going to back it up one slide if you don't mind. We did put together a fly-through, kind of giving you a better understanding of the site. So if we can minimize this, and at the same time, I can, I don't know, we can push play at the same time. maybe. It is, yeah, it's the top one. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
Does 4 stories go higher than St. Bernard's Church across the street?
Yeah, we'll have questions after the presentation.
And this is a rendering of the proposed architecture that we're looking at. Stone, brick facade for a portion of it, and then looking at paneling above that. But looking at trying to match the context of the surrounding architecture and community. This shows you the 4 stories of living space. So this is what you would be seeing from Washington Road. And we have some floor plans here as well, but there will be an entrance to a vestibule and common area on Washington Road for all residents to get from the streetscape or street level into the condo building. We're also proposing that there'll be 3 units on each building that face Washington Road. So we'd be looking at allowing them to have access from their porches as well. So that was one of the questions that we had received from the fire department and Rodney Sarver, in regards to just access and fire safety. And this is just the rear of the condo building. That shows a five-story elevation in this view. And then this is the parking garage plan, just showing the fact that there is an elevator shaft that goes to the parking level. There's two staircases that go completely to the top floor. And then this is just a floor plan of the ground level, first floor, the entry right there on the bottom to the vestibule, and the rest of the common area for access to the first floor units. That entry would be, again, on Washington Avenue. Those are the presentation items that we had for you today. Like I said, we've got NVR, the builder, architect online. I can answer any questions about site planning, civil. After tonight, our next steps would be to consider an application for preliminary land development and a conditional use for the alternative parking. Another next step would be to schedule a meeting with the PADP and the Conservation District to discuss stormwater management. We've done preliminary stormwater calculations on the site. We have an idea of where we think the stormwater management will go. It'll be a subsurface system, and I've talked to Dan about being part of those conversations. Moving forward, we understand where stormwater goes existing, where the municipality wants post-development stormwater to go. So that'll be a big charge moving forward as well. So you have us here. We'd be glad to answer any questions, jump through any of these things, back up and help you understand.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys coming in early and getting this in front of us as soon as possible. Nice presentation. Thank you for that. Dan, do you have anything to? No? Okay. Ian, do you have anything to add before we?
I think just from a process standpoint, we mentioned it in the agenda item that this is kind of like step 0 in the process. Like step 1 in the process is filing a formal land development application. So for those members of the public here or those watching online, this is not their formal land development application. This is their concept plan. They're presenting it to the board tonight to get some comments and feedback from the board in advance of filing that formal land development application. So there will be many more public meetings, public hearings, all those kind of things as part of the approval process for this. This is more or less step 0 of presenting the initial concept plan for feedback. So with that said, I'll turn it over to the board if the board has comments, questions, or feedback for the developer.
I do. I have a couple questions. Can you go back to the rendering, or maybe it was the beginning of the animation from the corner of Bower Hill and Washington? So I think one of the challenging things about this site is that there's a lot of fronts. And the way the plan looks to me right now is that you've articulated the Washington Road side, but, we just switched to that other view where you show the 2 parking garages. Yeah. It looks like it's not addressing that there's multiple fronts to this building and that all the articulation is on one side, or potentially on the 2 long sides. So comment that I would have was that this side is really, such a entry point just to Mount Lebanon, but also to your site, and it just doesn't seem like it's very special. It feels like it's kind of the side that's supposed to be hidden by trees. The same goes for the 2 inner sides where you're facing the parking garage, and then the exact opposite side where you're coming northbound on Washington. They all feel like they're just underdeveloped. The next comment I had was asking you about the stair that's by the dumpsters in the middle. What is that going to, and why is it there?
What is it going to?
Yeah.
It's connecting the parking below with Washington Road.
Does it need to? Because it feels like you're inviting, well, one, a view of the dumpsters. You've opened up that where it could be screened better and you wouldn't see it, especially, there's restaurants and there's a gym across the street. But it also just feels unnecessary because I don't know who would be using that. If people are coming and they're parking in the building, they're going in and up. And if they're exiting the front of the building, they're going out onto the street. It seems like a missed opportunity for a good landscaping barrier or some type of site amenity or something there that's activated along Washington. And then
Appreciate the feedback.
I would also say that the same thing about the sides to the townhouse in the back, the one that's the primary entry, has a completely, on the fly-through, had a completely flat, what looked like siding. Again, no articulation, no windows. So I would spend more time on the sides.
Thank you.
It just feels like there's a lot of masonry in the back. And I get that that's the money, but maybe more of that masonry on the streetscape would be helpful and more in context with the rest of the street and with the rest of Mount Lebanon.
Yeah, you had mentioned trying to be contextual. And when you're at street level, walking along Washington Road there, what you're experiencing is brick and stone. It would be nice to see a little bit more of that throughout the building.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo my fellow board member questions and comments. I appreciate the common space at the Bower Hill, Washington Road intersection. It would be great if we can take the opportunity to expand that scheme in the midpoint between the two buildings and then on the southern side. We have a large green space area there. I know we may be dealing with some grading issues and what have you, but this is the main thoroughfare on big days in Mount Lebanon, parade days. It'd be great for this project to be a focal point of the community. I think it can be, and I think it's on that way that a lot of the community will appreciate some of those common areas. I know you don't want to invite the public into your private property, I get that. On parade day, it's going to happen. So I think it's something that may be considered as an opportunity for those areas, as Rebecca said, where the stairs are and the dumpster is. Obviously we put as much pride in our development, in our projects, in our community, and I think it's a great opportunity here. One question I had about the parking. You had mentioned, this may be for Ian, there's 16 spaces along parallel along Washington Road that we're creating. Are those dedicated permit parking for the development, or are they going to be public? Because they're gone just about every day. They're going to be gone from the other uses in the area.
Yes, I'll answer that if you don't mind. The 18 parking spaces there would be public parking spaces operated and owned by the municipality. I believe Bill referenced in his presentation that Section 817.12 of the zoning code allows for what's called an alternative parking plan, which allows them to submit a conditional use application for shared parking of basically either on-street or off-street public facilities. It's all detailed in the zoning code what they're allowed to use to request as part of their shared parking plan. And there's also language in there about credits for being proximate to public transit stops and things like that. So I believe, and I don't want to speak for Bill, but the intention is to apply for a conditional use permit for a shared or the alternative parking plan under the shared parking clauses in the zoning code in order to meet the parking requirements of the development.
Thank you, Ian. We would come in with substance and provide an argument as to why we believe we would meet the provisions for that conditional use approval.
So talk a little bit about the retaining wall that separates the parking to the condos to the back of the townhouses. Are you proposing that to be tall enough? Because it will go right into the bedrooms of those townhouses. So you're going to have a retaining wall there that's high enough then to eliminate any of those headlights going into those bedrooms.
We have a 4-foot high retaining wall. So, and the way that the townhouse units are situated, on Kenmont, you would access the garage level. On the backside, you'd be on the first floor, with 1 story above that. So you'd be shining into the first floor of those, your headlights would be shining into the first floor.
Oh, I see.
And we have, I think we have the opportunity to mound if we want. We certainly have shown a pretty substantial, buffer, a buffer that meets the ordinance provisions for screening within the business district for parking. So I think it's something that we definitely need to be mindful of, but I think we have the ability to have creative solutions to make sure that that we're not providing a nuisance into those townhouse units.
That landscaping looks to be, there seems to be like 3 or 4 larger plants, and then there's a bunch of small stuff in between. Wouldn't that be more of like a green wall that you'd want to put something in between? That's what John's trying to get into. It looks like there's a lot of landscaping there, but it's not, is it all,
Yeah, it's
is
hard
it
to
gonna
tell.
block the headlights?
I think it will block the headlights, yeah.
And I would also add, because the adjacent existing houses as well, making sure that the people turning into those parking are not just the ones that are on your property, but that they're addressing the ones next door.
The only adjacent property that we will have difficulty screening is the building on Oak. It's almost a 0 lot line to our lot. So we're showing a fence there between our property and that building.
Actually, Bill, if you stop sharing, then I think we can switch it over to show show it just through the stream from this laptop now. I think we can do that.
So, and you can see that fence between our property and adjacent building. And I'm not sure with regards to its function right there, whether or not it's a screening fence. That's another, I think, technicality that we would work through with the municipality and this board as we move forward.
And that Oakway entrance is right turn in, right turn out only? It's not a left turn?
Right now, it is shown as full access. I'm sure, from a traffic engineering standpoint, to date, we've done trip generation to provide information to municipal staff with regards to the requirement for a traffic study for this project. But, so I'm sure that question is going to come up, and we're going to have to do some additional work to show the municipality why it can be a full
Yeah,
access.
because the left turn there seems like it's going to cut off the inbound traffic going down the hill on Oakway.
So right now, we expect to have that discussion and provide more information to you.
So this view also points out a question I have, and it's the whole roof. Because the roof almost seems like an afterthought, that you just put a little cap on the building. And I don't know whether that was because you were restricted by a certain height limitation or what's going on, but it doesn't feel like the roof belongs to that building.
I know Adam's on the line from an architecture standpoint, and NVR from a builder standpoint, my understanding is it's their standard roof for this particular mosaic is what the name of the structure is. I don't think it was just placed on. It's something that they've built elsewhere. So
I think that's maybe one of my concerns, that we're now in a pretty dense urban environment. And we're not at a interstate intersection. And so you're seeing things at a much slower pace, at a much more personal interaction with it than as you're not just driving by. So how it relates to the street, how it engages pedestrians, how it engages the people coming from St. Bernard's, the people coming from Mecca. You know, how is it creating a presence on that street?
Ian, our architect online, he just texted me, he said that he's no longer a panelist anymore. He will go to the top.
Okay, we can promote it back in.
Yeah, because I would second your opinion that the buildings, the contextual buildings have a lot of vertical articulation, you know, and that feels very flat on top. Like the front undulates slightly, as most developer buildings do, but it doesn't have any articulation on the roof.
What I noted in the flyby is the flyby is supposed to represent the actual elevations you're gonna build, or was that just like picked as a generic flyby?
We haven't showed the actual elevations. The stuff that we discussed previously did have more stuff, did have more brick on it. This was just more of the iterations put on there. So we assume that will be a lot more of the brick. So
No, and that's the whole purpose for you guys coming tonight, so we really appreciate that.
I think Adam should have the ability to talk if he unmutes himself.
Yeah, hey everybody. Sorry about that. Thanks for having me on. I think for just going back to the point about the roof, I think the idea of this is that it's a low roof for the exact purpose you're talking about. Is we do want this to be focused on a pedestrian experience. We don't want this to appear taller than it is. We want it to fit at the pedestrian scale. That's why we have articulation at the first two floors with the masonry, with the bump outs, with the bays, and we want that to be closer to the pedestrian scale. And that's kind of the intent of the forms of these facades. I'm not sure it could.
I think you could elaborate on that design-wise. I think that, I understand what you're saying. It just feels, again, like it's just the elevation that's been focused on, not the three-dimensional aspect of it that I would expand upon.
Sure, no, and I appreciate your comment earlier about the side elevations. I think we can look at bringing some of that same language we have along Washington Street to those sides. I think that makes a lot of sense. And the way that we have some bays, we can use that same element on all four of those side elevations, like you mentioned. I think that's a great point.
Are the sidewalks that come from the building and run perpendicular to the sidewalk and the road, are they coming from individual porches?
that's what we've shown right now.
So they won't like have a residential scale with the first floor level, right? Like a door or?
Yeah, it looks like it's just coming off of like a porch, just stacked.
Okay.
Yeah, it would come off of, the intent is to allow those first floor, those 6 units altogether, 3 on each building, to have a sidewalk connection so that they could come out from their porch to the pedestrian space.
Have you guys looked at the townhouses right up the road here that have the little courtyard in the front, that have more of a, like you still have you have plenty of room there. You have that opportunity. That could be an amenity for those first floors. So they put in 4 new townhouses, like you can walk straight up the street here. Back Kramers, yeah. You might want to look at those. But I also had a comment, how wide is that sidewalk? It looks almost as wide as the lane of the car. Is that It's like 10 feet wide, that sidewalk?
Our proposed sidewalk
Yeah, on
along
parallel to
Washington
Washington.
Road. Yeah, we showed it
Yeah,
at
that's
wider, to kind of match the rest of the corridor, with larger sidewalks.
We like sidewalks and walkability here.
Yeah, I just was curious, because they do look, so the parking spaces are 9 at least, and they look bigger, it looks even bigger than that. It looks like maybe 12 feet.
It was, I think it was over 10.
Okay.
Dan, I don't know exactly what we had shown, but,
So it matches what you measured up there now?
no.
It's bigger.
Bigger than when you say now, along our frontage?
Right.
Oh, it's bigger than what's there now.
And then, you know, this, it looks like there's a 2-to-1 slope that comes off of that corner as you approach Oak. I mean, when I'm reading the contours, I see a 1266 down to a 1255. There's like a, I don't know if they're 2-footers there, or are they 1-footers?
They're 1-footers.
Okay, then I can't read. It must be 1260 to 1255. So is that a 3-to-1 slope?
That's what we're trying to keep at so that we can
Mow it.
maintain it.
Does it make sense to, you know, like, instead of dropping off right away there, does it make any sense to put in like a 4-foot landscaping wall or something and terrace that slope down a little bit rather than, you know, to give the ability to plant? I'm not a landscape architect, but I'm just,
Whenever you were talking, when I heard the board members talking about, you know, incorporating additional pedestrian space along the sidewalk, you know, I'm hearing that it may be more important to maybe we push the lawn area at the sidewalk flat, so you have almost a shoulder behind the sidewalk. So it may not be program space for, let's just say, the parade, but during the parade, people can put their chairs or their blankets in that space. So I just think it's a way, you know, how do we grade this site? That's what it comes down to. I mean, we may say, we don't want a lawn area at 3-to-1 that we can mow. We want a flat space up on 19 that's multi-purpose, and then we just slope down to our proposed parking at a steeper grade and put plant material and screening in there. So that was what I was thinking when I heard the board talking about, you know, more pedestrian space, especially between the two buildings.
Yeah, it might just give it just a little more relief from the sidewalk to the hill and,
Yeah.
and having a softer edge there rather than just straight down.
And also from your perspective as developers trying to sell these units, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to structure your condo agreements or anything like that, but, you know, if people have pets or anything like that and want to take dogs out for walks, having a flatter space may be useful for something like that. And there are lots of people, even just from the community, that walk their dogs up and down the road and through, you know, other areas of town. So I like the idea, and like Dave mentioned earlier, you know, with the parade route, I know the, you know, big sidewalk across the street from you in front of St. Bernard's is always like prime real estate to come put your chairs for any parades through town. So if you have a wider sidewalk here, that'll definitely be, you know, prime real estate at parade time too. So having an attractive street frontage like the board mentioned, I think just helps amplify that community space.
I also see it as the sled riding hill. For better or worse. Take your opinion.
Are you offering any kind of exterior amenities to these units?
No.
It's just like grassed area?
When you say the only location, you mean for the 6 that are along the frontage?
6?
There's 6 units.
No,
that-
I mean the whole building, like some exterior space for these people to utilize. Somebody, I think, did you bring up?
No common grilling area or anything like that?
There's nothing proposed right now. Just given the tightness of the space and the fact that it is within this urban core, we looked at it as that is the space, that is the amenity space for these owners.
You had mentioned the grading along the northern side of the townhomes. And how you're going to work through that through the design process, and I get that, I appreciate that. I'm also looking at the southern side along those properties too. The plan that I have is a concrete curb and gutter called out. What is that? What is?
Existing.
That's existing,
It's
okay.
existing. It's on our property.
Okay.
It serves a function from the perspective of the adjacent property owner. I mean, it keeps water from going onto that adjacent property as it exists now. Grading does the same thing, and more typical yard drains in low spots to make sure that we're keeping our water on our site and collecting it and conveying it to the stormwater infrastructure. So
Yeah,
I could see that going away.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading the contours here, and it looks like the water's pushed back into that southern townhome. And I know this is an early conceptual grading, but I'll be interested in the next iteration, how that grading is going to work out in that area. Again, just planting a seed of something I'm looking at, so, okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any good comments from the board? Okay. Thank you. Do you want to take public comment now, Ian?
Yeah, let's do public comment now.
All right, we have two people that signed up to comment. Forgive me on this. Mary Roniak? You need to come to the podium, please? Can you announce your name and address?
Hi, Mary Roniak, 450 Kenmont. I live at the bottom of Oakway on Kenmont, so across Kenmont from Oakway. So what I heard was that these 48 condos require 96 parking spots and that they only have 80 allotted, and that is really, quite a non-starter for that neighborhood. We suffer greatly because of the Penndale, and the Penndale has basically more residents with vehicles than they have parking spaces. So people are continually parked on Kenmont. There isn't sufficient police presence to ticket and make sure that the overnight parking is respected, that people's driveways are respected, et cetera. So not only is that insufficient parking for the parking regulations, but that doesn't account for visitors that might come to that site. So that's typically what we see on a regular basis with the Penndale, that on the weekends, Kenmont is completely covered with parked cars. People come and they stay all weekend, and it causes quite a bit of problems for the neighborhood already. So while I appreciate that, the plot should be developed and it should have, a nice looking building and the landscaping, et cetera, the parking is really quite an issue. So I guess, again, I'm not an architect or an engineer, but the parking on Washington Road that's proposed, is there an opportunity to provide sort of the pull-in parking spaces like there are in Beverly Road versus the parallel? Maybe you could fit a few more cars in there. Random comment. The exit to Oakway. Oakway is an interesting little street there. Doesn't necessarily affect me personally, but I have quite a number of windows in my house, and I see lots of traffic coming and going, and people don't necessarily respect the stop sign at the bottom of the street. And at the top of the street, turning onto Oakway from Washington Road is problematic. And it just doesn't look to me like you would have enough room, or from a safety standpoint, to have people coming out of the property and making the left turn up Oakway when cars are coming down. The picture looked nice, but I just feel like there's not enough space there, so I hope that that's looked into for safety standpoints, for traffic in all directions. And that's not even counting during the winter when Oakway is icy. But anyways, my last comment would be that I would appreciate if the current owners could take a look at the litter that is surrounding the property. You know, there's quite, I know you're not there every day, but there's quite a bit of kind of litter and trash that builds up on Kenmont. Thank you.
Thank you. John Dyke?
Hi, I'm John Dyke, and I own the property across the street that has the gym and the restaurant. And I didn't know I was signing up there to comment, but over the years that we've been there, it's been vacant for so many years. I'm just hoping with all our bright minds here, we can come together and put something there that'll generate revenue for the township and fill that space that looks so terrible for all these years. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments online? If you're online and have a comment, please raise your hand.
Are there any other comments from people here? Good. Please come to the podium and announce your name and address.
My name is Jacob Hornacek, 842 Lovingston Drive. A lot of my comments have already actually been addressed. On the parking situation, I wanted to bring up, this is not actually too much involved with the current project, but an issue with the Avon Apartments. From what I know and for what I've seen for my entire life, that garage and the parking that's available to those residents is actually very bad and kind of in disrepair. I know a lot of them actually utilize Washington Road currently as their, main source of parking. So if those slots become primarily for the new development, then the Avon residents will have to find parking elsewhere, probably even more on other residential streets. As we know, that road with the corner pub and everything is already very, very congested, so that might be an issue. And then my other point was just a style thing. This is a personal preference, and I don't know if the design code has anything about this, but the siding, the panel siding that's been included on some of the renders really just doesn't fit with the kind of urban environment. Not a lot of buildings in Mount Lebanon, especially older residential areas, have panel siding. A lot of the newer developments in specific places do, but it doesn't really fit in with the rest of Washington Road. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online? I don't see any hands on that, but, okay.
One other quick comment too. So I know this is a, very high visible, it's a property with a lot of high visibility, a lot of public interest in the project on this site. So we will have information on the municipal website about this project, so you can check it out. We'll get it up within a few days at mountlebanon.org. Also, we send out resident notification letters to residents around developments whenever projects happen. But if anyone would also like to receive notification letters for when this project is going to be on the agenda next, just shoot me an email, imcmeans@mountlebanon.org, and we can add you to the list of residents that receive updates by mail for this project.
Thank you. Okay, we appreciate you coming in and presenting and getting this in front of us as early as possible. Thank you. Okay, the board will now accept public comments relating to any items not appearing on the agenda. Are there any? No? Okay. Well, then our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Mount Lebanon Planning Board is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. All municipal meetings now have a Zoom webinar component to enable residents to attend meetings either virtually or in person. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Dave Hornacek, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
I'm trying.